promoting dialogue.
Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. This is NewsLink. Let's begin with our top stories. Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara urges ECOWAS force deployment in Niger as coup leaders continue to detain President Bazoum.
I personally consider this as a terrorist act, and we cannot let this continue. We have to act. This coup d'etat is not acceptable.
Electoral campaign in Liberia takes an ugly turn following a clash between supporters of the ruling and major opposition political parties. Authorities in Mali arrest former president of the National Assembly and 4 others for alleged embezzlement of 17 billion CFA francs. An Africtivist launches campaign against online harassment targeting women in Senegal.
We launched this campaign specifically for Senegal, which is called in Wolof Taxaw Tem Aar Suñu Bopp, that's working together to preserve ourselves in a way, if I was to translate it literally.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Tawfiq Abdul Nasser with NewsLink.
Glad you could join us. The Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS, has ordered its standby force to restore constitutional order in Niger Republic. The president of the ECOWAS Commission, Omar Aliyu Toure, made the declaration while reading the resolution of the August 10 Extraordinary Summit of the bloc on the Nigerian crisis. WADR's Abuja correspondent Usman Umar reports that the military intervention is locally still being contested.
ECOWAS, in its resolution at the end of the summit, said all efforts made to dialogue with Niger Republic military junta have been defiantly rejected by the coup leaders. They also condemned the continuous detention of President Mohamed Bazoum, his immediate family and members of his government. Dr. Omar Ali Toure, president of the ECOWAS Commission, read the meeting's resolutions.
Direct the Committee of the Chief of Defense Staff to activate the ECOWAS standby force with all its elements immediately. Order the deployment of the ECOWAS standby force to restore constitutional order in the Republic of Niger. Underscore its continued commitment to the restoration of constitutional order through peaceful means. Express appreciation to His Excellency General Abdulsalami Abubakar, His Eminence Muhammadu Saad Abubakar, the Sultan of Sokoto, Ambassador Baba Kingibe for the special envoy missions undertaken in Niger, Libya, and Algeria on behalf of the Chair of Authority.
ECOWAS also called on the African Union, that is AU, the United Nations, partner countries and other institutions to support the resolutions taken by the sub-regional body.
Call on the African Union to endorse all the decisions taken by the ECOWAS authority on the situation in Niger. Further call on all partner countries and institutions, including the United Nations, to support ECOWAS in its effort to ensure a quick restoration of constitutional order in conformity with its normative instruments. Direct the President of the Commission to monitor the implementation of the sanction.
The bloc also warned states standing in the way of a peaceful resolution of the crisis to be ready for the consequences of their actions. Experts are, however, pointing out that one of the immediate consequences of the military action would likely be the removal of coup plotters from power, but there is also the potential for violence and casualties. They also fear political instability and prolonged unrest that could extend beyond the borders of Niger into neighboring states in the Sahel, thus stimulating cross-border conflicts and increasing tensions within the region. Dialogue is in the meantime the best option on the table as the bloc hopes to free and reinstate President Bazoum. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Now, speaking on the sideline of the second ECOWAS summit, Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara reiterated the bloc's commitment to end the wave of coups on the sub-region. President Ouattara recalled the historic timeline of coups in West Africa and described the continuous detention of President Mohamed Bazoum as a terrorist act. He particularly, on behalf of the Ivorian government, endorsed the ECOWAS decision of the use of force to uproot the purchase in Niamey. Take a listen.
The community has always condemned coup d'etats, and coup d'etats have happened in many countries. in the sub-region. ECOWAS has intervened in the past in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, recently in Gambia, in Guinea-Bissau, and today we have a similar situation in Niger. I'd like to say that ECOWAS cannot accept this. This is not a matter of Nigeria against Niger, not at all. The decision that we have made today, and I hope it will be implemented immediately, is a decision of ECOWAS. All the head of states think that we have tried dialogue with the push of Niger. We have sent delegation, high personalities to talk to the people of Niger. But they're keeping President Bazoum as a hostage. I personally consider this as a terrorist act, and we cannot let this continue. We have to act. If we don't have democracy, do you think that our countries will be able to move ahead? This coup d'etat is not acceptable.
Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara speaking there.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
In Guinea, heads of neighborhoods, sectors and districts will no longer be elected by citizens at the grassroots level, but instead be appointed by regional governors. This is according to a decision taken on Wednesday by the president of the transition, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. The decision has not gone down well with the political class, with most political players accusing the transitional government of wanting to militarize the neighborhoods and districts to cling to power. Stakeholders allege a plot to present Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya in the next presidential election. James Ejapon has more in this report by our Conakry correspondent, Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Balde.
According to the Electoral Code revised in 2017, in order to run neighborhoods, sectors, and districts, it was compulsory to go through a grassroots election. The decree, signed on Wednesday by the president of the transition, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, has cancelled the code, leaving it to the governors of the regions to appoint these leaders at grassroots level. For legal expert Montesquieu Jakite, this decree violates the law.
These kinds of decrees or decisions have the effect of sowing confusion in the understanding of those who must comply with these laws. The question is whether these decrees should be applied or whether the law should be applied. For me, this is a question that should not be asked because the law is superior to the decree.
Selou Balde, a member of the UFDG party's political council, cries foul.
It's an illegal act. Beyond that, it's a blow to democracy, but also to decentralization in our country. And we are returning more and more to centralizing methods where the bulk of powers are concentrated in the hands of an executive where everything is done by decree. It's incomprehensible that in 2023, at a time when all nations are in the process of strengthening the power of local authorities, we are trying to take away this prerogative. What do you do with the mayors of the communes who are elected and whose neighborhood and district councils are made up of sections of these communities?
At the RPG Akansil, Karamu Nabe, a member of the executive committee, suspects the interim government of wanting to militarize neighborhoods and districts to impose Doumbouya's candidacy in the next presidential election. The decision by the transitional authorities to appoint neighborhood and district chiefs has divided the population. Political parties are planning to meet in the coming days to find ways of attacking this decree by the president of the transition before the Supreme Court.
James Ejapon with that report by Conakry correspondent Cherno Alpha Ibrahim Balde. In Liberia, violent clashes ensued between supporters of the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change and the main opposition Unity Party. The fight broke out despite appeals from Liberians for political actors to maintain the peace in the country ahead of the October 10 general elections. WADR's Darlington Pauper reports that several people sustained injuries.
The clash occurred Thursday after President George Weah embarked on a tour in Moserado County District No. 9, where his rival, former Vice President Joseph Yuma Boakai, should have gone to constitute his campaign team. Some ruling party supporters who spoke to WADR accused the main opposition of instigating the conflict after they reportedly forced their way among them to welcome the opposition flag bearer Boakai.
What transpired there, I don't know. They keep running and going this way. Now we saw rats coming for our end. Okay. And you know, rats represent bullet. So that what just happened. I can just tell you that what just happened. We don't ask them for their identity. We don't know, but we saw the green attire. We don't really, because we saw a group of guys with their banner.
In counter-reactions, Unity Party supporters blamed the government loyalists for deliberately blocking the traffic to prevent their candidates from arriving at their party's district region office in the Cinco neighborhood. The accusation instigated the riot.
Some people bleeding all on their body, and we just want for the international to see what's happening now in Liberia, because it's getting too tough for all. We worry about ourselves, our life.
They stole our standard bearer from coming to the campaign headquarters to address his policy. But Joseph Yuma Boakai was in the traffic, and the young seditious went and blocked the road and had no access to come to speak to his policies today. I think you are here, you the press. They send a those here again to come and stoon our policies.
Despite the claims and counterclaims by the two sides, the WADR cannot independently verify who exactly instigated the riot, as the state authority is yet to issue any statement on the development. Liberians have increased their calls for peace during these elections. For NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pauper in Monrovia.
In Mali, 5 high-profile personalities have been arrested and detained for embezzlement of public funds, among other offences. Isaac Sidibé, former president of the National Assembly under the ousted regime of late President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta, is among the accused persons. Placed under committal order Wednesday this week, Sidibé's collaborators in the alleged scheme that runs into several billions of CFA funds are officials of the Malian legislature. Ogeobi Erika reports.
The arrest of the officials is linked to an investigation into crimes committed against public property. Those arrested include Modibo Sidibé, Secretary General of the National Assembly and who holds the same position for the Transitional Council, Anfar Khalifa, former financial controller, and Demba Traoré, an ex-accountant, both at the National Assembly. Another named collaborator is Mamadou Bavier Touré, the former director of the Administration Financial Service of the Malian National Assembly. The former principal MP and his subordinates were arrested as part of an investigation for damage to public property, forgery and use of forgery and complicity. They are also accused of the embezzlement of 17 billion CFA funds. According to many, Bavier Touré's indictment is surprising because he seeks re-election as the head of the Malian Football Federation, FEMAFOOT. Unopposed, he launched his campaign last Tuesday, August 8, after 8 other challengers were disqualified. With this new case, however, this election, scheduled for August 29, will be likely postponed. In addition, Bavier could also lose his position as a member of the Council of the International Football Federation, FIFA, after his election during the 43rd Ordinary and Elective General Assembly of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, held in March in Rabat, Morocco.
Ogeobi Erika reporting there. You are listening to NEWSLINK on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM, Dakar. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara urges ECOWAS forced deployment in Niger as coup leaders continue to detain President Bazoum. Electoral campaign in Liberia takes an ugly turn following a clash between supporters of the ruling and major opposition political parties. Authorities in Mali arrest former president of the National Assembly and 4 others for alleged embezzlement of 17 billion CFA francs. An activist launches campaign against online harassment targeting women in Senegal. Still ahead is the guest interview and sports update. Stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Onion traders in Ghana may have to start bringing what is left of the produce through Nigeria rather than waiting on Benin and Burkina Faso to open their borders. This is because Benin and Burkina Faso have closed their land borders over the coup in Niger. The Trader Association are appealing for government intervention. From Accra, Atiwin Mbila Lawson reports.
70% of the onions consumed in Ghana are imported from Niger. According to reports, 75 trucks full of onions en route to Ghana have been stuck in Burkina Faso and Benin for several weeks as a consequence of the border closure arising from the Niger coup. The onion traders have therefore called for the government to intervene since the onions will reduce shelf life and also it will negatively impact their businesses in Ghana.
The Burkina place there, they are just up there. So it's getting to choose. Onion tools, they don't need a lot of, they don't want heat. So we are appealing to the government to talk to Burkina and then the Benin to see what they can help us to bring the onions back. If not that, our customer plenty from Western Region, Central and Volta, all to Eastern Region, or nobody. They have come here since Monday. The cars are there. They haven't get goods to load.
We are begging to Nana Hadu, for talk to the soldier for opening the gate for us and the bring the onion, and we all will make okay in Ghana here.
Sani Abubakar, the leader of the Accra Onion Importers Association, has also revealed that the shortage has led to a hike in onion prices on the market. A bag of onions selling at $105 is now being sold between $133 and $140.
The price has gone up somewhat because last week we were selling 1,200, 1,150, but now we are selling 1,400 and 1,450.
As they await government intervention, some of the traders in Ghana have now resorted to bringing what is left of the produce through Nigeria rather than waiting on Benin and Burkina Faso to reopen their borders. Reporting for NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Atiewin Mbila Lawson in Accra.
Here in Senegal, the Africtivist movement initiated a campaign to combat the online harassment faced by women and girls. This menace, according to the organizers, impacted 70% of women in the year 2022. The objective of the campaign is to enhance public consciousness regarding online aggression and to encourage the consciousness utilization of social media platforms within Senegal. The primary focal point of the 2-month initiative encompasses information dissemination, heightened consciousness, and active promotion. Aisha Dabo, the coordinator of Africtivist, underscores these themes.
We launched this campaign specifically for Senegal, which is called in Wall of Tahautem Arsuñu Bop, that's working together to preserve ourselves in a way, if I was to translate it literally. The goal actually is to encourage people to have, to use internet wisely and to lessen the impact of harassment, and lessen its impact. Because according to data, 7 out of 10 women in Senegal are harassed, and that prevents them actually from contributing effectively in the development of the country because they have a voice and need to be heard. And our approach with this campaign is to make it an inclusive one, include everyone in society, not just women, because this is something that you have women on women cyberbullying, you have women, men on women cyberbullying, and sometimes you have women on men cyberbullying. So it concerns everyone, but the majority of the victims are women.
Aisha Dabo is the coordinator of the Africtivist movement.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has directed its standby force to reinstate constitutional order within the Niger Republic. Umar Ali Toure, the president of the ECOWAS Commission, announced this decision while presenting the resolution from the August 10 Special Summit of the organization addressing the crisis in Niger. How has the local community reacted to ECOWAS' intervention in the Nigerian crisis, and what are the possible consequences of this action on regional stability? So Dr. Maji Peters, our guest, sheds light on these crucial inquiries.
I think this is not the first time ECOWAS have said that. From the beginning, the chairman already gave an ultimatum and said if they don't bring Bazoum back by Sunday, they are going to interfere. And it already means that we already have put the horse before the cart before the horse. And in mediation and in diplomatic mediation, you don't start with threat, because when there is an overthrow, pride comes to play. Power intrigue is there. When you start to threaten, it's because you felt like you don't want to recognize my strength, you don't want to recognize my worth, you don't want to recognize my institution, and you don't want to recognize the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. The people are buying legitimacy from the general populace. Whether they are mobilizing that legitimacy or it is genuine acceptance is a debate for another day. But for ECOWAS to have started with a threat, I think it was a wrong thing. And now saying that they are threatening, what they are trying to do indirectly is opening the door to say the next phase of the Cold War should be fought on African soil. Russia is going to be aligning with a lot of the African countries that are ending, and the language they are going to say is that we're supporting you down with Western colonialization, down with neocolonialism, down with exploitation of your resources, and that's what a common man in Africa wants to hear. And that's why if you see all the protests, they are raising Russian flags and putting down France flags. And that is one of the diplomatic maneuvers that is happening right now. So I think ECOWAS has made a mistake from what they have said, and their declaration of going into the country to use arms is another threat that I'm sure they are not going to be able to live to. And if they think that Niger is going to be a walk in the band, then they should be ready for surprise, because Niger is going to do everything they can to ensure that they mobilize machinery to see that they are not down and out and embarrassed.
Right. So with that notwithstanding, do you think Russia is gradually taking Africa?
Russia and China are gradually taking Africa. They are having a footstool. They are already engaging and giving military support to a lot of the people. And then they are going into bringing in China. China is a commercial interest, and they're going into more negotiations that are more profitable to the nations of Africa. So I think we're already setting the stage for the Cold War.
Right. So, like you said, if you want to solve a crisis diplomatically, using of force is not the option.
Using of force is the last thing you put on the table. Use of force is always the last thing you put on the table.
Right.
First time is to send leaders of thought, is to send people that are respected, is to stretch your hand for dialogue, is try to see how we can have a peaceful resolution.
But the Nigerian junta is not ready for mediation talks.
The first thing was you should return Bazoum, or then we give you 7 days ultimatum to do that. That's not mediation, that's threat.
Right. So what potential implications might this decision have for the stability of the region?
It's not just going to be a border war. It's going to be a war that will snowball into other things. There are other countries where they have military takeover that are already pitching their tents with Niger. And that means they are fighting legitimacy, and they are trying to form a coalition of those of them who are taken. And then ECOWAS should not think they will use that to intimidate people. The pulse on the continent might not be what they are thinking. They should try to do an assessment of what people are thinking about the takeovers, and they should see what people are really going in for. That's what I would just say.
All right. So the transitional heads of state in Guinea, Mali, and Burkina Faso have threatened to fight back if the regional body decides to use military intervention in Niger. Do you think those were just mere threats, or it is something that can actualize, especially now that ECOWAS wants to use military intervention?
Of course, when they say they're going to support the person, what they're going to do is they're all going to back him up. A fight with Niger is a fight with all of them. So they're going to back it up. They are forming their own. If ECOWAS is thinking of bringing down ECOMOG, they're going to be forming their own forces as well that will defend their rights. They are all in military. And the whole sinister idea is if we allow this to happen and Nigeria comes down, other people will start protesting in our own countries, and then ECOWAS will come in with us and bring us down too. So we can't look at them because all of them are military. So they need to form a coalition to support each other.
Dr. Maji Peters is an international relations expert. Here is Sankule Janko with Sports Update.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Ghana Premier League outfit BBN Gold Stars have parted ways with 6 players ahead of the start of the new season, according to media reports. The Miners had a fairly good season last time after finishing 5th in the Ghana Premier League. Gold Stars are trimming the size of the bolted squad ahead of the new season while looking for new players. The players who are leaving the club, according to reports, included Ataya Kusi, Nikalala, Ebenezer Aboloy, Noah Mate, Evans Owusu, and Joshua Akoto. The departure of the aforementioned players is to make way for new arrivals at the club for the new campaign, it has been reported. Gold Stars, in a statement, thanked these outstanding personalities for the immense contribution towards the success of the club. We bid them farewell and wishes them all the best in their future endeavors, the statement reads. And 2023 Women's World Cup and Nigeria international star Ashley Plumter has claimed to find a new club following her departure from Leicester City. However, she has not disclosed the identity of the club. Plumter, who switched allegiance to the Super Falcons from England, was the standout player for Nigeria against the Three Lionesses in their 4-2 penalty shootout lost in the round of 16. The versatile central defender left Leicester City after the end of her contract at the King Power Stadium at the end of last season. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We have come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via Hot 104.3 FM and Numi FM 94.0 Banjul. In Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Radio Pod 95.1 Savannah Region and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi. Inyas Bilimo has been on the console, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek for the live stream. Do interact with us via social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. I am Tawfiq Abdul Nasir. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music, get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.